Hi everyone, this is my video for people who have seen The Force Awakens and who want to speculate more about what the future of the Star Wars franchise looks like. That's episodes 8 and 9 along with the spin-off films. So first off, I want to talk about the fallout from this past movie, The Force Awakens. So it'd be really nice if Episode 8 addressed the fact that, the Republic was essentially destroyed, the Resistance, it did achieve a victory by destroying Starkiller Base, but the Resistance is no longer going to have funding and weapons and soldiers coming from the Republic, so I would love for a film to address that. I would love for the films to talk about Episode 8 particularly. I think it's really important that they establish this immediately. The state of the union of the Republic. Obviously it lost like the central world with the Senate and everything, but not all the politicians were probably on Hosnian Prime. Not all the planets are in Hosnian Prime that are in the Republic. So I want to maybe it would be really cool if we got something like a State of the Union speech from like a Mon Mothma type character, like the president of the Republic or whoever is in charge now that their seat of government has been destroyed. If we got an assessment about like, we lost this many people. We're now at war with the First Order because they attacked us, blah, blah, blah. We're working with the Resistance now. They'll probably deny that they were ever funding the Resistance, which is another interesting thing, and will show some moral ambiguity. And straight up lying. But that would be really interesting. And it'd be really cool if we contrasted the state of the a politician giving, like, the state of the Republic, to another person telling us about like the First Order and how that's going. Like if General Hux were to give another speech telling us like all about even though the First Order has lost Hosnian Prime, we're still moving ahead. We have like we've dealt a big blow to our enemies and the Republic funding the Resistance, and we're going to continue and we're going to wipe them out or something along those lines. And if we had a speech between these like the speech going back and forth between these two speeches, General Hux and the Republic giving like their State of the Unions or whatever, I think that'd be really, really interesting. And we could also delve into like the ideology of the First Order. It's all about order from that little tidbit of what General Hux said. These are people who think that the most effective form of government is a dictatorship, essentially. And you have people on the other side saying the most effective or the best form of government is a republic, a democracy, where we protect people's rights and we vote on what the laws are instead of having one person make them up. And that'd be an interesting connect to the prequel films, even though people don't like to talk about the prequel films. Like, I think it's very interesting. I think it'd be really cool to talk about these two forms of government and what they represent. Another thing that I want to talk about for the future films is Rey's parentage. So my personal hope is that Rey will not be a Skywalker. Not everyone in the universe has to be a Skywalker. Even back in the original films, we have non-Skywalker Force sensitives include like the Emperor, Yoda, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. There are only like 5 people with the Force in the first film, and the first few films. So why does it make sense? Or 6, I guess. I forgot lit. So it wouldn't. Half those people were Skywalkers, but the other half, they were not. And we don't need everyone to be related in these movies. We already have Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is our Skywalker, as other people have already pointed out. And, he's doing a great job continuing that legacy of this family, particularly the struggles with light and dark connect to Anakin and Luke. If you remember in the first 3 films, Luke started off wearing, like, white clothes. He ended the films wearing black clothes, in Return of the Jedi especially. In Return of the Jedi, he had been tempted an Emperor, but in Return of the Jedi, remember, he was like very close to turning to the dark side. Like, he was being tempted. When Vader threatened to kill Leia or to convert Leia, I forget which right now, Luke like went crazy and he started just giving into his anger and his rage, and that was what allowed him to defeat Vader by essentially tapping into the dark side of the Force. And so we have enough Skywalker connection here. Kylo Ren is like the new Luke, the new Anakin, in that regard. And it'd be another reason why I really don't want Rey to be a Skywalker is like, if she is, then that means either Luke or Leia abandoned her on Jakku, they abandoned her to be an indentured servant with like a junkyard guy making her like go scrap for weapons in very dangerous like conditions. Like it was like child labor and stuff. She's been doing this since she was like 5 or something. Like this is terrible. And I just have a hard time believing that, one of these characters would be willing to do something so cruel to a child. Like, even if it is, like, the lesser two evils, I would need some, like, serious explanation for that. I just think, like, there's a bunch of characterization things that would make the story very difficult to explain. And if they did explain it, it would probably detract from the films overall. That being said, if she is a Skywalker, and they explain it well, and they manage to do that in a way I didn't expect, well, I'm not going to complain then. Obviously. Oh, and another reason why I actually don't think Rey is a Skywalker in the context of the film is that when Maz Kanata is talking to Rey after Rey has experienced a vision, after touching Luke's lightsaber, Maz Kanata, who is presented as kind of like a Yoda-like Force-connected figure who's very wise, she gives dialogue that is essentially meant to be like what the directors and the writers are telling us. And what she says in the movie is, the people who you're waiting for on Jakku are not coming back for you. Then she says, but there's someone else who you can go to, and that's Luke, essentially. And so she's making a distinction between the people on who she was waiting for and the people she can go to. So it indicates that Luke is not the person who left her on Jakku. And that's a really good thing because I don't think Luke would abandon a child. And also Luke took I'm thinking that Luke is not going to have children in the sequel films. It seems like there are just much more important things to do than to have kids like lead a rebellion and all this other stuff. Anyway, moving on. I'd really like for these next films, I'd also like a lot more on Snoke and like what he's up to. We don't need a whole lot, I guess. You can have some sort of mystery. But I think it'd be really cool if the next writers like Rian Johnson and stuff, like if they trolled the fans, because they know that this like Darth Plagueis theory is going around. For those of you who don't know, Darth Plagueis is like Darth Sidious's master. They mentioned him in episode 3 when Darth Sidious is tempting Anakin Skywalker as the Chancellor, and he's telling him, and Sidious tells Anakin like the tale of Darth Plagueis knows about this guy, the Sith Lord who can manipulate the Force to create life and death. And to prevent his loved ones from dying, and all this other stuff, but his apprentice killed him, and his apprentice was Darth Sidious, the Emperor. And so I think it'd be really interesting if while we see Snoke training, I really want to see a scene of Snoke training Kylo Ren, and I think that'd be an interesting contrast with Luke training Rey. I'm all about contrast right now between the First Order and the Resistance. And during this training, it'd be really interesting if Snoke said something like, my former apprentice tried to kill me, and you hear him like get cut off or something, like General Hux walks in with some message or something like that. I think that'd be really cool because it would basically troll the fans, like teasing them that like Darth Plagueis might be Supreme Leader Snoke, because you would learn that, hey, he had a former apprentice, but you wouldn't necessarily know which one. It could really be just some random character, or just some guy who he thought he could train in the Force and just killed. But it would be enough to just have fans react to be like, oh my gosh, it's Darth Plagueis. I don't want it to be Darth Plagueis because, I don't know, I think it'd be it'd be weird because it's like, what has he been doing for the last 6 films? Like, you've been pretending to be dead for like 60 years or 40 years or something, dude, like, and then you're just coming back. I think I'd have a hard time buying him waiting out like the 2 Death Star destructions and all this other stuff. But, anyway, moving on to General Leia. I think it'd be really interesting for The Force Awakens, I really did like that film, but I really wanted more of like the old Princess Leia. I love that she's become a general now, and she's not going by princess. That's pretty cool. But in the old movies, Leia was just very like fierce and feisty. She like always spoke her mind, and in The Force Awakens, she was very matronly and stuff. She had this one line where she like kind of argued with Han, but it wasn't a lot. I would have liked for her and Han to argue again before he died, because like those were Carrie Fisher's best scenes in the old movies were like her arguing with Han Solo. So I would have liked some more of that. So if we could see some more feistiness, I don't know how they could elicit that. Maybe she's arguing with like some admiral, with one of the admirals or something. in the Resistance or just under stress. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Also, I think it'd be a really cool idea if, Kylo Ren, every time he gets angry, he like lashes out using his lightsaber or something. So I think it'd be really interesting to see if the rebels lose a battle or something, and Leia accidentally uses the Force, like she makes a machine break or something like that, or she accidentally like uses telekinesis or something. That might make the Kylo Ren thing, like his power, like more believable, and just show you like the power of the Skywalkers. That someone untrained like Leia, who still has a connection to the Force, accidentally uses it, like, and it just spews out of control because the Force has like awoken, and she's from a powerful family. It'd make Kylo Ren more sympathetic because it would show that like he couldn't control it and he needed to be trained. It would show like why it would make the family connection more interesting, I guess. And they did show in episode 5 and 6 that she could use her Force powers, and even in the 7th movie, she used her Force powers by sensing that Han died. Anyway, moving on to Kylo Ren, I really like his beef with General Hux, and I think it'd be really interesting if their rivalry or whatever. It'd be really interesting to see Kylo Ren and Hux like continue to argue some more. Hux is kind of like Grand Moff Tarkin in the first movie, but I think it'd be interesting also to see Kylo Ren after his training also like converse with Darth Vader some more than Mask. And I would really love an explanation for J.J. Abrams has said in interviews outside, like Kylo Ren is doing this because even though he knows Anakin Skywalker redeemed himself and also felt the call to the light, I would like an explanation, him to at least acknowledge in film that he knows that his grandfather was called to the light. Like, if he thinks his grandfather regrets being called to the light, that's fine. I just want him to acknowledge that particular aspect. Furthermore, I don't want any more Death Stars. I'm tired of this plot device. It worked for this film, but 4 would be enough. I want episodes 8 and 9 to push new boundaries and find new ways to make the First Order a threat. Also, I want the Rebels to the Resistance to experience some losses. They have a little bit too much success for my taste in all these movies. Like, I don't think they've really had a setback. Like, in episodes 4 and 6, they destroyed 2 Death Stars, and this one they destroyed Hosnian Prime. Lost of the Republic was big, but like, we need some more loss. That was one aspect of the prequels that was good. That the good guys lost, like, a lot, considering how episode 3 ended. Anyway, moving on, I would really like some cooler music, especially during lightsaber battles. I guess you guys are surprised by how much I'm like touting the prequels. I'm not touting them. I really only like 3. 1 and 2 are pretty good, or like good films, so they're not bad. But I think 3 is a great film. Anyway, I really like the music, like Duel of the Fates, when you had the 2-on-1 lightsaber battle with Darth Maul, and then Battle of the Heroes with Anakin versus Obi-Wan and all that stuff. There were some really cool music in those films. I would like some of that epicness back, and especially during these lightsaber fights. Now, some other last-minute things before I wrap it up. Finn, I don't know what he's going to end up doing. His storyline is the most questionable for me. It's pretty clear Rey's going to train to become a Jedi. It's pretty clear that Poe will continue to be useful by being a pilot. He can lead those, fight scenes and stuff. But I'm just not sure with Finn. If he also became a Jedi, I would like that. It seems weird to me that he would do that, considering that he didn't go with Rey, even though he's, like, stuck. I think it'd be really cool if Finn ended up liberating the Stormtroopers, or, like, going on a mission with Poe, preferably since he has such a great bromance, and they both have really good facial expressions together. I think it'd be really cool if he went on a mission to, like, liberate Stormtroopers and cause, like, dissent in the First Order and stuff. Like, I think that would be both militarily useful, and it was the most unique storyline from those episodes. Lastly, it'd be really cool if there was another Jedi that we did know about, like we found out maybe Kylo Ren didn't kill all of Luke's students. Maybe one escaped and they kept it a secret or something. And I'm going to make another video about expectations for the spin-off films, because I didn't have time for that, but look out for that. See you guys.